Live. Welcome back. It is 1:44 on your Monday. There's a lot going on. Of course, President Trump meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky earlier today, just about an hour or so ago, at the White House, talking about, of course, the war in Ukraine. And we did talk to a pair of Schutz a little bit earlier about what is to come out of that meeting, of course, to be a fly on the wall of that meeting, right? We don't know what will happen. We don't know when we'll find out what will happen with that particular meeting. There was 1:30 scheduled some sort of meeting or a photo op that was supposed to take place at the White House. There's a live look of that right now. Obviously, that is not going on yet. If and when that does take place in the next 15 minutes here on Chicago Live, we will bring that to you. Looks like there's some activity, but of course there's a little bit of activity and then it goes away. So we'll keep our eye on that. But in the meantime, we want to bring this to your attention. Ozempic has shot in popularity, right? It's a very popular drug. Millions of people taking the drug to treat type 2 diabetes, also for weight loss issues. But are there now issues with vision loss and certain eye problems? We want to bring on an attorney from Salvi, Shostak and Pritchard, Kristen Stoichescu. Kristen, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Hey, Kristen, so you don't have any of these cases with Ozempic, correct?
That's right. Not yet. Although typically the sort of scenario you see play out is a few attorneys will be first to file a lawsuit like this. More attention will be raised as a result of the filing of those lawsuits, and then several other lawsuits will sort of piggyback off of that. And so what we're looking at now is evidence that continues to develop, a growing body of evidence linking the use of these semaglutide-based compounds, including Ozempic being the most popular, being linked to this rare eye disorder that results in a often sudden and most of the time permanent loss of vision.
I was going to say, I know you're not a medical professional. I know you're not a doctor, but kind of tell us a little bit about what this is.
Sure. So what this recent wave of lawsuits is alleging is that GLP-1 drugs, including Ozempic and Wegovy, caused or contributed to these plaintiffs developing non-arteritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy.
Ooh,
that's a mouthful, so they call it Nion for short. It's a distinct vision disorder from diabetic retinopathy that many people taking these drugs are already predisposed to developing. But what happens with most of these plaintiffs, unfortunately, the onset of symptoms occurs most often when they wake up and they realize that they've lost either total vision in one eye, partial vision in both eyes. The presentation can vary a little bit, but the unfortunate thing is there's no treatment for this type of eye injury, and the loss of vision tends to be permanent.
So we're seeing the headlines a little bit. How many cases are you aware of? And obviously, it sounds like you're preparing yourself. Chicago's a big place, so it kind of feels like undoubtedly we might see, one or two local cases here or more.
I think that's likely. So far, by my count, most of the litigation activity in terms of cases that have been filed is focused currently in New Jersey, where Novo Nordisk is headquartered in the United States, and that's the manufacturer of Ozempic and Wegovy. So I see about 24 cases filed in New Jersey. The plaintiffs' lawyers who are handling those have moved to consolidate those cases within the state. But again, if plaintiffs around the country who developed this injury learn that there may be a connection between these drugs and the injury they've suffered, then we can expect to see more lawsuits being filed in other states. And if enough of those happen, then it might get consolidated into a federal proceeding, as we so often see with these mass tort cases.
So what if you're listening, if you're watching this right now and you think, this might be me? What is the first step? It's probably to go the medical route, I would assume, correct?
Definitely. If anybody is taking these drugs and is concerned about potentially developing vision loss or this risk, and as I said, the evidence continues to develop. Right now, there's no clear cause and effect link between this Nion injury and exposure to these drugs, but there is evidence to suggest an association of increased risk between exposure to these drugs and this condition. So first and foremost, if you're taking these drugs or thinking about taking these drugs, talk to your doctor so that you can work with the medical providers who should be up to date on all of the evolving evidence, bring these concerns to your physician, and there may be an option to switch to a different drug, or you may come to a different conclusion altogether about what makes sense with respect to the management of whatever condition you're treating with these drugs and the potential risk of this vision loss.
This might be too inside baseball, but when you hear about a drug and they list off all those side effects, is this one of those side effects, or is something similar one of those side effects?
So the package insert, and this would be the basis of a failure to warn claim brought against the manufacturers, does not currently include Nion as a potential side effect of the drug. That's at least in the United States, based on the evidence that's been coming out from the various medical journals, been published in medical journals by researchers. The European counterpart to the FDA just a couple months ago did recommend that Nion be added to the package insert in Europe, but so far no such action has taken place in the United States.
Well, that kind of bulks up a case, I would think. Yes?
It doesn't hurt from the plaintiff's perspective.
Yeah, from your perspective. Okay, so say you get one of these cases, do you wait for more to come on board? How does that work from your perspective, if that does kind of start happening here in the Chicago area?
Sure. So once we sign up a case, we start investigating immediately. So there's no sort of waiting period to see what we're going to do with them. In the event that the case has become consolidated down the line, that's sort of, it's not a concern that we address immediately, but it is something to keep in mind in terms of the sort of strategic implications filing an individual case versus filing several consolidated cases.
Can you relate this to any other types of cases that you've worked on recently? Does it feel like any other sort of case?
Yes, so at Salvi, Shostak, and Pritchard, we have a lot of experience handling mass torts like this against other pharmaceutical drugs and bringing those cases against their manufacturers. I will say this is the second wave of Ozempic focused litigation. There's currently an MDL that's been going on for a couple of years for a different type of injury, gastroparesis. So this looks to be like the second wave of these drugs that will probably be handled separately, it looks like.
Handled separately, because that's a completely different kind of condition.
Right.
And with the popularity of Ozempic, right? Like these big drugs that are become, I don't know, I hate to use the word mainstream, but have just become so popular. And if a couple of issues start popping up, you never know, how local they can get. All right. Well, Kristen Stoichescu, thank you so much, an attorney for Salvi, Shostak, and Pritchard. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Keep us posted. Keep us informed.
Will do.
Thanks so